Hi, I'm Bill Bradley. Join me for a recent excerpt of American Voices. Here in American Voices, we celebrate all that America has to offer. So after hearing about people who do wonderful things and people's life stories, we want to also celebrate the land. So each week we invite artists and writers to talk about their favorite place in America. Well, this time we'll hear from John Fugelsang. He's a comedian and host of the SiriusXM show Tell Me Everything. You can hear it weekdays from 2 to 5 East on SiriusXM Insight, Channel 121. Here's John Fugelsang on his favorite place in the country.
My name is John Fugelsang, and my favorite place in America would probably have to be Washington Square Park in New York's Greenwich Village. The park is almost 10 acres. It's a public park in Greenwich Village, surrounded by New York University. It's famous for many reasons as being a place of 60s counterculture, and it's famous for being both an institution of civic life and for being an institution of anti-institution counterculture. When I was young, I saw a picture of a very young Bob Dylan sitting on the grass in Washington Square Park, and I thought, that's where I want to go. And I wound up going to NYU, where my dad had gone. I had never actually seen the park until I think I was 16, and my father was taking me in to meet an advisor at NYU about coming there for undergrad. We were walking down West 3rd Street and turned a corner, and suddenly there it was, the gigantic Washington Square Arch in person. And it wasn't like I loved it and chose it. It felt like I was called to live here and soak up this community. I went there in the 80s. So I was a generation removed from the 1960s protests that took place there. But I got to have a front row seat for the 80s activism of AIDS activists, ACT UP, groups like that who would do a lot in Washington Square Park. And the park I saw as a way where I didn't have to try to be cool. It was about individuality. The park, to me, at age 16, looked like a place where I could go and be myself and either be accepted for that or not care if I wasn't. It was strange for me because I always felt a lot more accepted in Washington Square Park than I felt at NYU. I would meet people in the dorms, and it was like we came from different planets. They were nice, but they had their own thing, and I always felt in the us and them equation, I was the them. I was this kid from Long Island who never fit in. My mother was an ex-nun. My father was an ex-Franciscan brother. So I was both the most Catholic kid in school, but I was also the most politically progressive kid in school at the same time. So I never fit in anywhere as a kid. I was too Christian for the hipsters, and I was too progressive for the Christians. But I'd go to Washington Square Park, and I'd find people to talk to. I would meet all kinds of people from all around the world, from nice tourists to drug dealers, and I would have great conversations all the time. I was sad a lot when I lived there, and I didn't know how to process it, and I didn't take good care of myself. It's a miracle I didn't flunk out of college, because I was just very sad as a young person. I'm someone who, I was a young person who grappled a lot with what's now called depression, and I didn't realize it at the time. So a lot of times I was deeply unhappy. I was someone who had a background where I thought I would never fit in, and spiritually my life was very confusing. My mother, they tried to raise me to be a progressive, free-thinking Christian Catholic, which is why I do stand-up, because I can't afford the therapy I actually require. And I wouldn't call myself a bleak kid. I knew how to have fun, but I didn't know how to respect myself or take care of myself or how to create happiness. I kept waiting for someone else to bestow it upon me rather than making it for me. But I was never sad when I went to this park. I got out of my head every time I went there. There was too much going on, too much to see and to absorb and to take in to really dwell on myself. So years before I had therapy or things to try to make sense of my negative cycles, I had this place where I could go where my own failings and shortcomings didn't really bother me because I felt lit up with promise. And this was sort of like the timeout place. When I would be overwhelmed in my classes or lonely in my dorm, I could walk into this park where I could both get lost and find myself at the same time.
That was comedian and SiriusXM host John Fugelsang. You can hear his show, Tell Me Everything, on SiriusXM Insight, Channel 121, weekdays from 2 to 5 East. And that's the last of our American Voices for today, but I love hearing from you, so write me any thoughts you have about the show. I read all your posts and comments. Our show page is facebook.com/American Voices with Senator Bill Bradley. Senior producer Devorah Klar. Assistant producer Christine Whalen. Special thanks to Chris Gibbons, Eric Gonzalez, and David Rodriguez.
American Voices with Senator Bill Bradley is made possible by Barrick Gold, America's largest gold producer and a major supporter of education, the arts, and environmental conservation in the western U.S. Visit us on Facebook or go to barrick.com.
I'm your host, Bill Bradley. Join me next time on American Voices. Thank you for listening to American Voices here on my YouTube channel. For more interviews celebrating the goodness and creativity of the American people, click the subscribe button below.